just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Packer Up, boys. Time now as you're driving home. If you are already home or you're about to head home, this can be you. This can be you in the next hour or two. Sit back, relax, and wow, that's good stuff. Straight into my veins, baby. Straight into my veins. Now, let's get into it, eh? Beer, Food and Footy Festival not next week, sorry.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. That is right, guys. Make sure, if you haven't got tickets already, go to the show notes, grab your tickets, get down there. It's at Henson Park. It's Newtown Jets versus Manly is the main game, but there's plenty of games before that. Plus, I think a few NRL players might be playing. It is honestly the perfect day, whether it's for your family, whether it's a group of mates. Sit on the hill. Hopefully it's a beautiful day tomorrow. I think it is forecast to be a solid day. We'll get Matty to check that. It is going to be fantastic. I mean, even if it is an overcast day, it is still such a good day.
Yep, sunny.
Sunny day. There you go. Boom. Sitting on the hill, watching rugby league. Got all different foods to choose from. All different locally brewed beers. All different stuff that, like beers that you haven't seen before. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Like, if you were to put a footy fan's wet dream, this is it.
Oh, so basically, I had a look at the layout before. So you got the field, and then you got the hill, and then all the beer tents are like lined up next to each other. I think there's about 20 or 30. 20. Yeah.
I mean, it's again, and it's just cool. Like, you get to try beers that you would never try before.
Yeah.
You get to see brands that you don't know. And these are all, I think most of them are all, I think there's some of them are connected to big breweries, but most of them are small like us. Like, you know, just craft beers or a beer like us. It's that's obviously I'm the founder of. So make sure to get down. I'll be down there. Matty will be down there. Guru will be down there. Timmy might be down there. Come down, say hey. We'll be serving bloke beer so you can give it a try. Obviously say hi and watch the rugby league. Also, don't forget this week, 9 Now. Watch your rugby league on 9 Now. If you love this show, you love the platform, it's got the best commentary, but not only is it the best commentary in the biggest games, if you watch it on 9 Now, you're supporting Bloke. That helps Bloke out. So if you've got the option between 9 Now and other platforms, choose 9 Now because it helps us grow. And the feedback so far is 9 seem really, really happy. So if we can continue this, we can get bigger and get bigger names on the podcast. So if you're going to watch Rugby League and you've got the option, watch it on 9 Now. The best in the business. Also, Bloke Lager is on special and all New South Wales Thirsty Camels this week. Go check out your nearest Thirsty Camel, New South Wales. Plus, we're in every Liquor Legend in Queensland, so get into your local Liquor Legends. Let's get into it, though. Dragons defeat the Tigers. Zach Lomax was absolutely brilliant. Dragons get the job done. Look, it was good that it was a close game and, you know, really important win for the Dragons. I would have to say, though, like the standard just... You really can see the difference between those two sides and the top tier sides. And some might go, well, that's obvious. They're at the bottom of the table. But I don't think, even the Dragons and the Tigers, I don't think we thought heading into this year, it would be such a clear difference between the top 8 and the bottom of the table. I think because we started the year with so many, you know, upsets and wins or whatever, and we kind of thought, oh, wow, like pretty much nearly anyone can beat anyone. I think that the comp is really starting to settle down into who really belongs where on the ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, the Tigers at the start of the year, because they did had all those signings, I didn't have them at the bottom of my table. I didn't have them making the finals or anything, but I had them going a little bit better than they are now. But you're right. The Tigers obviously started really poorly, but then they got a couple of wins together against Penrith. Then the Dragons went on that long string of losses, but they were all by like 2-4 points. Yep. So like it wasn't really here nor there. But yeah, the quality last night, like I still enjoyed the game. I expect, to be fair, I expected it to be a lot worse. I just think it was a typical low ladder game because the Dragons absolutely scraped home, but the Tigers just shot themselves in the foot. I thought their second half was really bad when it comes to, they just gave away way too many penalties, and just made way too many errors. And they had the lead for a lot of the game. So the Tigers really cost themselves. So yeah, it was, I still enjoyed watching it, but it was definitely a bottom 4 clash.
Yeah. I mean, Tigers couldn't even get the win. They had 10 in the bin at one stage, the Dragons. I have to say, some of the errors that the Dragons made, especially in the first half, like if you make errors in contact or, you know, fatigue, they're the ones that you kind of go, okay. But like these were just straight drop balls.
Yeah, the unforced errors were
like
high
you're just
today.
going. And the thing with that is, what is so frustrating about that is the players that are making these errors, you're better than that. You know you're better than that. Like if someone said to you, can you catch an out the back ball or can you catch an offload or an inside ball, you would go, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you're not concentrating and you're dropping just like it is your job. If you're not going to do it in regards to, you know, because you want to win or whatever, do it in regards to like you're getting paid to do a job. Like that is a simple task of catching the ball. And I understand every now and then, you know, you see halfbacks, they handle the ball all the time. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But when you see just the ball was in the breadbasket, like literally a perfect pass, and they just completely drop it cold, you're going, mate, like concentrate.
Yeah, it's fundamental stuff, isn't it? Because it's either not concentrating or probably both, to be honest, not concentrating or too busy thinking about what you're about to do that you're just not worried about the simple catch
Look,
and pass.
if a front rower does that, a front rower's earned the right to do that to a degree. Now, in a perfect world, you see the best teams, they don't do that.
Yeah.
But if a front rower is 20 minutes in, he's made 15 tackles, had 5 hit-ups, doing all the tough stuff, you go, okay, mate, we'll defend for you. You know why? Because you've earned the right to that to happen. You're working your ass off. But I always say it, and I feel like it, but as an outside back, if it's a tough one to catch, for sure, then you can go, well, mate, it was a hard one to catch. If you're getting balls in the breadbasket as an outside back, you should never drop them.
And the ones you're talking about, I remember there was 2 that stick out to me. Both of them, the opposition defense was
wasn't
nowhere
close
near
to
him.
him. Wasn't
Nowhere
close
near
to
him.
him. So I look at that and I go, guys, like, you know, I'm not saying that they do point the finger, but if you want to start like saying, oh, we don't have the best environment or the coaching and all the turmoil, I agree with you. Everyone knows on this podcast, I always talk about environments and players being put in that environment. But at some point, with simple stuff like that, that has nothing to do with environment.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
You are clocking off and not doing your job. It's that simple. You could have Wayne Bennett as a coach, and that still wouldn't be acceptable.
Well, I mean, you learn how to catch when you're a kid. So it's fundamental stuff.
Really fundamental. As I said, if it's a winger jamming in and he's put like you've got no time, or you're trying to tip on, or you know if you've got a hit through the middle and it bounces out, for sure. But
Yeah, like a decision-based error or trying to do something, fine. Well, I mean, not fine always. Like sometimes you get annoyed, but you can at least justify it.
But like no pressure.
Yeah.
Just looking up to do what you like, looking ahead instead of catching the ball. You're like, what? Anyway, so that's where I just go, okay, yeah, it's been a tough year for the Dragons and the Tigers to a degree. But these are really, really fundamental things that,
Sure.
you know, first you should take care of that before you start looking at anyone else going, this hasn't been great. Anyway, I feel like we're being super negative here, but it was just something I watched and I was just like, that's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not good enough. But let's get some positives. Zach Lomax.
Oh my God.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, he's almost his own worst enemy to a degree now because, mate, you set the standard. We see how good you are. Everyone has been talking about this for ages, and we've definitely seen glimpses of it. I'm not of the mind that Lomax has always struggled with his form. I thought he was outstanding. I think he ended up having about 28 runs.
Yeah.
So involved with the game. And to be honest, I know a lot of people disagree with me on this. I still think you should put him at fullback.
I'm with you.
Like, look, I am a huge fan of Sloan. I really am. He seems like a really good kid, And he's got so much potential. But it's getting to the point where I feel Sloan really needs to look in the mirror and go, what do I want to be? Like, because unfortunately Sloan, he is not as big enough yet of a superstar where he's just guaranteed a contract next year. He's definitely a player that if he keeps this inconsistent footy, he may struggle to get a contract. Like top 30s are tough to make these days. It's not just about getting a contract, it's about spaces in top 30. And do a lot of squads have spaces in their top 30 to take a risk on a guy that has been given opportunities and just doesn't click yet? But this comes from a place of I want the best for Sloan. I'm a fan of him. I think he seems like a really good guy and he's got so much potential.
Yeah.
But he needs to sit down and go, what do I want in my life? And have a real honest conversation with himself. Doesn't have to, environments. Yep, the Dragons absolutely haven't been the best environment for Bud Sullivan, for Sloan, for Amon. Agreed. I totally agree with you. But there are parts of Sloane's game that has nothing to do with environment that he just needs to fix up, because Sloane at his best can be similar to Jaden Campbell, similar to all the young guys coming through that are super exciting. Super exciting. I think Sloane's potential is genuinely, put it this way, if you put Sloane at his best at the Storm or Panthers, they can still win a premiership.
Yep.
So his potential is a top 8 elite tier fullback, in my opinion. That is what his potential is. But right now, you see it in one game. He'll do something great, something silly, drop ball, something great, something silly. Defense he still needs to work on. And so, as I said, this is coming from a place of wanting the best for Sloane, because I really do. But he really needs to sit down and ask himself some tough questions.
Yeah, I agree. He's wildly inconsistent, and like I say that like half positively because his ceiling is
incredible.
Enormous.
Incredible.
But as you said, he'll do something crazy, but then Junior Tupou will bump him off and he'll score, which
there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a way the bump off, like it didn't even make anyway. Or he'll get an inside ball and drop it cold.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of him sitting down and just being super honest with himself. Try not to look externally as to what has been done and the certain decisions made by coaching staff, because I still do believe that he hasn't had a fair crack in regards to, there's going to be scarring when you get treated the way he was treated at the start of his kind of career. So it's not all his fault, but you can't focus on that anymore in regards to, you can't look back and go, oh, well, had bad development. You're here right now and you can only control what you can control. You worrying about anything else is not going to help you. So he's just got to get to a point where he goes, you know what? The world's at his feet. The world is at his feet. He can go on to have an incredible NRL career, but the choice is his, which is a gift and a curse. Because I tell you right now, and this is coming from someone that had a lot of talent coming through and, played multiple sports, whatever, you feel a lot of shame when you don't live up to what you should have lived up to as an athlete that can deliver a lot. And that's from me. I should have had a 10-year career, but because of certain decisions, and I got screwed over for sure. There's no denying that clubs did certain things that weren't fair on me, but it was still my choice to make certain choices that I made that didn't make my career end on the way it should have ended. And it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. So he's got that choice to make.
Quick question for you. Just say Dragons finish the year bottom 4, which they probably will. Sloane plays the same. When you're Shane Flanagan, do you pick one of them to start the preseason, or do you have them fighting for it?
Right now, if I was a coach with Sloane, he'd be on the wing, and I would be saying to him, mate, you need to show me week in, week out that you're willing to take tough carries out of our own end and do the stuff that, it's the shit stuff. You hate it. Like, I didn't like taking scoots. Like, I'm not a big winger or whatever, but it's just stuff you had to do. And so if I was a coach, he would be on the wing and he'd be working on his defense and he'd be working on all the tough stuff in the game, the tough carries, running it hard into forwards. And Sloane's not tiny. He's taller than me.
He's tall, yeah.
Yeah, he's taller than me and he'd be around 90 kilos. Yeah. Like, I was playing NRL at 82.
Yeah.
So he'd be on the wing, and basically that's where I would let him serve his apprenticeship, to eventually develop him into the fullback that he needs to be. Because I do believe Sloane at his best is the best fullback at the club right now with Zach Lomax, because Zach Lomax, they've found a balance being able to get him some work.
Yeah.
But right now, I just think that Sloane just needs to serve his apprenticeship under a new coach. And look, Flanagan's going to be the best thing for him, because we know Flanagan's a player. He's a player's coach, which means that he develops a really strong bond with his playing group. And you might say, all coaches do that. No, they don't. I promise you they don't. And so I think Flano is going to have a really honest conversation with him. But as I said, if I was me, I'd be putting him on the wing and I'd be saying, Matt, I need at least 15 carries a game from you coming out of our own end. Then I'd sit him there for at least a year or two maybe.
Yep.
And then once he's like, maybe a season, and once he's shown like, yep, all the tough stuff, all the defense is sorted, you move him back to the fullback. And that's when, for the next 10 years, it'll make him a better player.
Yeah.
I'd probably move, so you'd have... I'd probably move Fine into centres if he can handle the defensive responsibility. Then I'd have Sully as the other centre.
Yeah.
And then I'd have Ravalawa, who needs to work on his defence. We saw last night. Yeah, so this is coming from a place of wanting the best for Sloane.
Yep.
Now, maybe I'm completely wrong, and maybe there's way more to it, and I'm just incorrect. But outside looking in, I just think that he needs some time developing before he gets that fullback role.
Yep. Yeah, I think I agree. And I wonder, I mean, Cody Ramsey's probably going to be the fullback this year. So I wonder if he...
As in, he was supposed to be this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still see Ramsey, even though he did really well at fullback when he was playing, I still see him as a winger.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think Lomax should be back there.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with Lomax.
I just think he needs his hands on the ball as much as possible in this time. They can't afford to have a guy like him sitting in the centres.
Yeah.
He's too good, and he seems to have stepped towards a responsibility. So it's like, mate, we can see how you can play. Like now, if we walk off in 80 minutes and you've had 8 runs, then it's disappointing.
Yep.
He can, like, I'm shocked at how match fit he is, Zach Lomax. I did not think Lomax could do 28 runs in a match and be sweet. Like, it's truly, I think he could be an incredible fullback. And at the very least, if Sloane develops into the fullback we think he can, we know Lomax can kill it at centre. We know he can. That flick pass that he did was absolutely phenomenal. And that's where you go, that's an example to Sloane. Lomax, what was his issue? Flicking all the time. And so we always said, like, he needs to just take the tough carries. The flick will come. What's happened the last 2 weeks? He's done all the tough carries, and it's the greatest flick pass he's thrown in his career because he earned it. It came. The moment was there, and it just came naturally to him. And that's why when you hear a lot of ex-players about, like, oh, you got to earn it, and it's just like, what are you even talking about? Earn it. Like, if it's there, it's there. There's your perfect example. Lomax has been taking 25 to 30 carries. The magical flick pass happened when it was supposed to happen rather than him forcing the issue.
And if Sloane wants to take something more from that, this Lomax flick pass, put it away, was only, I think, a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's absolutely earned it now, and it's only taken a year, really.
Yeah, and as I said, like, he's been put back to his preferred side, and the same thing will happen with Sloane. Yeah. I guarantee you, if Sloane takes 15 to 20 hit-ups a game, even to 25, I guarantee you he'll have more line breaks because they'll just happen.
Yeah.
The one thing that Billy Slater, it's his most underrated attribute, was his repeat speed fitness. Billy Slater wasn't that much faster than anyone else, wasn't that much stronger than anyone else. His ball playing was pretty average when he came into grade. He had to work on that.
He worked on his speed a lot, Slater. Yeah.
So the difference between Billy and every other fullback was every time there was an opportunity, he was right there.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the time in games, fullbacks, opportunities arise and they're not there because they're not putting themselves in the game the way Billy Slater did. Teddy, again, his most underrated asset was every time a opportunity presented itself, he was in the right spot. Why? Because he just forced his way into the game.
Yeah.
And I think Sloane can be I think Sloane can be like Ryan Pappenhausen. That's Ryan Pappenhausen's secret weapon. It's the fact that he's always there. He's always there. And if Ryan Pappenhausen can make a mill, can kill it at this with his size, then Sloane can obviously as well. So I just think that I'm a huge fan of Sloane. I think he's got an incredible future. Just needs to sort out that side of his game because you don't want to be the 24, 25-year-old that's all this potential, goes to another club, doesn't work out there, because then you're probably over in the Super League by the time you're 26. Sloane is way too good for that. Sloane should have a 10-year career in the NRL, and he should be a fan favourite.
Yeah.
And his highlight reel should be as good as anyone's. That's how much potential I reckon this kid has.
Yeah, got a lot of potential, and he's still so young. Like, he's got so much time to be patient.
Heaps of time. And that's why you go, because Wayne used to do it all the time. He would bring a fullback, he'd debut him on the wing, and then slowly move them back into more key positions. And that's why I reckon with Sloane, I reckon you put him on the wing and you go, mate, just give us, your goal is 150 plus metres a game, 15 carries, and then just work on your defence.
And I'd hope he received that well. I think he would, purely because last year he was obviously getting a bit itchy, I think. And he admitted that in an interview this year that, I was probably too impatient. So he's been through it before. So,
well, you just explain it to him. That's what I think a lot of coaches don't do. If you sit down with Sloane and you say, mate, you're our fullback for the next 10 years. That's what we want. But this is the path we're going to take to get there. And then you have to, as a coach, in my opinion, you have to repeatedly remind him that he's still the guy. Mate, you're still our man. You're still our man. And if you make him feel secure in his position as a first grader, he'll be like, okay, I'll do the hard yards as long as, everything's, the words are kept and everything, promises are kept. And yeah, look, you're right. He came out and said maybe I was a little bit impatient. So this isn't a kid that isn't willing to listen. He's clearly willing to listen.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to Lomax. I'm super excited for Lomax.
Yeah.
I think that if he keeps this attitude up, it seems like Flano's probably giving him a call. I reckon Flano's called him and said, mate, this is what I want from you. If you do this, I want you at the club long term. And I think that's, again, I think you'd be shocked at the amount of players that coaches don't communicate with. Don't just sit down and go, mate, love you as a player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would be shocked at the amount of young players in squads right now that feel insecure, don't feel wanted, don't feel cared about, and they're like, you know, am I going to get selected? Does the club even want me? Does the club even like me? You would be shocked. And that's what Wayne does so well. You know, Mark Nichols tells a story where he was a fringy. He went to Mark Nichols before the preseason even started, and Junior Totola, and they were both fringies at this stage. Wayne Bennett sat him down and said, "You're first graders, and no matter what, you will be starting first grade this year for me at the start of round one." And Mark Nichols says, the confidence, I'd never experienced that before where like, oh my God, this guy's actually backing me in. And look, you always hear the good stories. You don't hear the bad stories of that where a player backs a coach, coach backs a player in. And we see it all over the, you know, players on huge contracts that coaches have been super loyal to, that they haven't repaid the favour. But that's where you just need to be ruthless, I think, as a coach. Like if you back a kid in, and he doesn't repay the favour and doesn't work his ass off, that's where you need to be ruthless and be like, mate, you're gone.
Yeah, but like you said, the first step is giving that kid the confidence.
Yeah, it's not the kid's job to make it, like, yes, it is the kid's job to make himself feel confident to a degree, but literally your title is coach.
Coach, yeah.
So you're supposed to coach these guys so they feel wanted. And what do you hear about all of Wayne's players? They feel, you know, wanted, secure. All of Craig Bellamy's players, you've never heard. What's incredible about Craig Bellamy, and he doesn't get enough appreciation for this, is he is known as like a tyrant, like bellyache. His nickname is bellyache. Blow-ups in the box. You've never heard an ex-player talk a single word badly about Craig Bellamy, which is the total opposite of what you would expect of players under a tyrant in air quotation marks, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You'd get at least some players going way too intense, you know, shit guy, blah, blah. No. All of them say Bellamy, so good. He cared about me. And that is the secret ingredient is being able to like make the players know that you care. Look at Ivan Cleary. You can tell those players love Ivan Cleary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They love him. They absolutely love him. Andrew Webster. Listen to the Warriors players talk about Andrew Webster. And so, yeah, and I think Flano will really do that. As I said, I'm still all in on Sloan. Because especially with Flano coming to the club, if it was a different coach, I'd be a bit like, oh, I don't know. I think Flano's going to be good for him.
If I'm a Dragons fan, I'm pumped for Flano.
Mate, if there's one thing, he's a ruthless winner. Now, I know a bit too ruthless in regards to he's willing to do too much. But look, at the end of the day, this is NRL. You're here to win games.
I'll get the Sharks record up.
And so that's if he can't turn the club around, I just don't know who would. You'd need a genuine master coach to turn the club around.
Yeah.
Lomax, I'm super excited for. The sin bin with Sloan, that was a bit of a silly error. I've got to say, the thoughts on Talau being put in the bin, I don't think so. Like I know the commentators were talking about professional foul, but it wasn't a professional foul in the sense it wasn't a try scoring opportunity.
It wasn't a try scoring opportunity, yeah.
That's just a bit of rough. Yeah, penalty sufficient.
That's what I thought as well.
Like I think we have become way too desensitized to 10 in the bin.
Yeah.
Like 10 in the bin is a big deal. Let's not forget that. Like so much, we just sit there and like to the 12 other players like, oh yeah, 10 in the bin, you'll be right. Oh yeah, sweet, thanks bro. Like we don't even think about how hard it is out there for the 12 players or 13 players. 10 in the bin's a big deal. I don't think Talau should have been put in the bin. Laurie at 6, I just love the fact that he's a goer. He competes. He rips and tears and everything. I was always surprised that he was so easily just on the outer at the Tigers. I like him at 6. I thought he did a really good job. I do think that left edge was a bit clunky in attack though. We would get to Talau and he wasn't used to getting all this early ball, and so then the winger wasn't used to it. So that's something that's going to take time now. There's a lot of whispers with Laurie going to Panthers. Look, if Laurie does go to Panthers, you just know he's going to turn into a gun.
Yeah.
You just know.
And that's his junior club.
Laurie's a gun.
Yeah.
Even like he was their best player last year. I think it was last year or the year before.
I think it was last year. He should have got the medal.
And like, yeah, okay, he had some insufficiencies in his game, or deficiencies in his game, but he's a goer. He competes in everything.
He's definitely in that 17 somewhere. Like.
Surely as a 14 even.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I thought Laurie was really good.
Just on back to Flano. So he took over the Sharks his first full season in 2011. The 2 years before that, they missed the finals by far. His first year, they came 13th. Then his second year, they scraped into the finals, then made the semis, then Asada, then semis, then they won the comp, and he made the finals every year since he came back.
Yeah.
So he's got runs on the board when it comes to rebuild.
Yeah. Oh, mate, it's like, especially like Cronulla was not they were a club. I think it's struggling financially at that stage.
Oh, big time.
Big time. Like so much so you're sitting there going, I don't even know if they're going to be in the bloody comp. Now they're actually one of the more wealthy clubs.
Yeah,
in regards to assets.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he pretty much rebuilt them twice because he took over Ricky Stewart and he took him from nothing to the finals, and then they just got smashed with Asada, absolutely smashed, and they came last, and they, all their players were in disarray, and then he won the comp 2 years after they came last after Asada. So yeah, I'm pumped if I'm a Dragons fan, 100%.
Outside of that, in regards to, I thought Ben Hunt had a solid game. Jacob Little, I think, again, showed his class, and he's only going to get better with more game time. I tell you what, Jack DeBellin, he never stops working. In a terrible year for the club, in on-field stuff that's just been so poor. Jeez, he works his ass off in the middle there. He just tackles and tackles and tackles.
And they've got him and Blake Laurie as well. They're both just complete workhorses. So fantastic for him.
Ravalawa in defence definitely needs to work on that. I don't know why he was jamming in so much. I guess it's been one of his best years, Ravalawa. So every now and then you can have a poor outing.
And good on him for I thought he was going to go off when he got injured, but he ended up scoring the winning try. So
yeah, exactly.
Very mixed
so it's
game.
like mixed game, but as long as he can sort that going forward, he's had a good year. Ravalawa.
He's had a good year, and he's the most improved player in the last 3 years. Or he's right up
at
there.
the Dragons for sure.
At the Dragons. Yeah.
Amon showed real touches of brilliance. That flick pass back on the inside to Sloan, and that's where I say to Dragons fans, like, there is a good young core here. Like Sloan Amon, like Sloan wouldn't have been there if he hadn't have played with Amon, all his juniors.
Yeah.
And again, that's the importance of, giving these three guys an opportunity to play together, giving Little some time to play together. They are a good, they're doing it in NRL. Like, this isn't no longer in New South Wales Cup and that. Like, Amon is impacting games in NRL with his partner in crime, which is Sloan. Sullivan obviously proved that he can do it too. With good coaching and a bit of time together, they absolutely can impact games.
Yeah.
That was an incredible flick pass from Amon.
Oh,
and that's where you go, look at the flick pass from Lomax. Look at the flick pass from Amon. Look at all the potential Sloan has. And yes, we understand there are parts of the game he definitely needs to work on, but all the potential he has. Look at all the potential Sullivan has. The future can be bright for the Dragons. It's not as doom and gloom as some people might think.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
I love the flick pass. My favourite part was because he did the double pump, you kind of expect the support to be on his outside just to flick. But Sloan just was on his inside and they knew where each other was. And they just went bang. That was an incredible try.
Even Amon to know that he'd be there. Yeah. Again, that's time playing together. That's why Queensland was so dominant, is because Smithy, Slater, Cronk, Thurston, they'd all played so much rugby league together. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Thurston and Smithy were playing together when they were bloody kids. Well, I know, for example, Slater and that coming through North, Slater and Cronk. Anyway, so, yeah, look, good solid win for the Dragons. Is it top tier rugby league? Absolutely not. But you got to take it where you get it. The Tigers at least were much better than they were, the last few weeks. G's Happy Coruscant is important. So, yeah, look, a win's a win. They got it. I know some people don't like me hearing me saying a win's a win, but, what else are you supposed to... You're going to be doom and gloom every week and just sit here yelling, ranting and raving.
But it is a win because you're trying to avoid the spoon.
Yeah.
So every point counts.
Well, and also now the Tigers are 4 points adrift at the bottom of the table. You've almost locked yourself in to not win the spoon, which if the Dragons won the spoon, that would be a disaster. Yeah. Because... I do agree it was time to part ways with Hook, but I think they finished like a win outside the 8 last year.
Yeah, they were hovering around that 8.
So they've gone backwards a little bit.
They've definitely gone backwards.
And I think that's probably because of the way everything's been handled.
Yeah.
So I still think Flano can get them up around the 9th, 10th mark next year.
Yeah.
And in a good year, maybe fighting for the 8. Like few recruits, Flano's really persuasive. And saying that, if they lose Benny Hunt.
I was going to say, I wonder if they'll keep Benny Hunt.
I don't think they will.
They've managed to make it go away for a moment. But
they just got to bite the bullet, man.
Yeah.
If they struggle next year with Amon, Sullivan, Sloan and Little, just growing pains.
Yeah.
Give them 12 months together. Yeah, okay, you're not going to play finals footy most likely.
Yeah.
But the next year after that, with a few more forward recruits come in, who knows what could happen. Onto the Tigers. Junior Tupou had a fantastic game.
He was great.
But the problem with Junior is he's just so inconsistent. He had the really good first few games. Then there was a period where he was really poor. Last night he showed his potential. So it's similar with the Dragons and the Tigers. There's signs of a really good young crop coming through. Obviously Buller, Junior Tupou, Stefano, hopefully they can keep him long term. Api Coruscant's re-signed.
Yeah.
So if they can land a good 7 next year, maybe that 7 can utilise that great forward pack. Because I'd probably say on paper, not probably, on paper the Tigers are probably a better squad outside of Benny Hunt. Benny Hunt skews things quite drastically.
Yeah.
But put it this way, heading into next year, if they can just get a solid 7, I would say on paper the Tigers are better than the Dragons.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Because you look at their forward pack, like
their forward pack
Stefano,
is top 8.
Yeah, Stefano, Coruscant, Clemmer, Papali'i, Bateman.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bloody good forward pack.
I tell you what, I know Bateman's not like the biggest guy in the NRL, but I think he's the guy I'd least want to get in a scrap with. He looks like he would.
You'd have to
bite
knock
your
him
head
out.
off.
You'd have to knock him out.
Seriously.
He's not stopping. So, yeah. I know it's tough right now for both clubs, but it is what it is.
What about Bateman's kick to himself?
Oh, mate, the when he trapped it and it came back up.
That was all.
And then that little
English
grubber
blood.
where he dropped it back.
Yeah.
Jeez, he just competes on everything. Yeah, look, it's a tough time for the club, but again, what's the thing they both have in common is, I would argue both have had issues in their admins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Very rarely do you see a well-run club at the bottom of the table. You might see them in 10th or 11th or whatever. Well, let's go and look at it right now.
Well, good examples like the Roosters. Like they're the best they're one of the best well-run clubs. They're just having an absolute outlier of a year, but they're still not nowhere near the bottom.
Yep. So you got Dragons, Bulldogs, West Tigers. Bulldogs, they're starting to turn things around, but what's their issue been for the last 5 years?
Yeah, they've had so many
so many
now,
dramas.
But
yep. Dolphins, a new club, well-run club. Knights going relatively well. I think that the last couple of games, I think that they should be extremely proud of where they are right now. But their next few games is going to be a real eye-opener.
I'm very interested. They're playing Melbourne at home this week.
Yeah,
like they haven't got a good record against Melbourne. I don't think anyone really does, but they've gotten Melbourne at home a couple of times. So,
well, even if they lose, it just depends on how they lose.
Yeah.
Because this will be a really good because they play the Bulldogs and the Tigers 2 games in bottom tier teams. But yeah, if you were to say which clubs have had the most dramas in their admin, you'd probably say Dragons, Tigers, and Bulldogs yesteryear.
Yeah.
As in the last few years. Then you'd probably go
probably
Seagulls.
Probably Manly, yeah.
And
but they're not having a good year either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas you look at the top tier, Panthers, incredibly well-run club. Broncos, really well. Storm, incredibly well-run club. Raiders, very well-run club. They're all behind Sticky. You look at the Warriors, they're a well-run club and they've made the right decisions.
Yeah.
Eels, Rabbitohs, that's the ironic thing is outside of maybe the Roosters and maybe the Cowboys, the top 8 clubs, admins, are all probably the best admins.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what I mean? You're never going to see a club at the top of the table that has a bad admin.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you might see a club that's poorly run with a good team at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can see good teams at the bottom of the table.
Oh, absolutely.
But you never see good admins at the bottom of the table, which shows you where it all starts in the front office.
Yeah.
Anyway, tips of the week. I tell you what, I was sitting there last night, and Matilda's obviously got up 1-0 against the Ireland. So they opened their World Cup campaign with a win. And I was watching that game, and this is coming from a guy that grew up watching soccer, and I was like, mate, NRLW to watch is I believe, is a better product than women's soccer. So I'm sitting there going, this is the tippity top. This is Australia versus Ireland. Like, Australia's ranked 10th in the world. Ireland's like 20th or whatever. So it's like essentially some of the best you can watch in regards to, now I know Australia didn't play the best. So it's not like, the bad countries or whatever.
But we also had our best player missing.
Yeah. And so I'm watching, I'm going, I would much rather watch an NRLW game. And we're talking about a way younger game, way less resources, just in Australia, and yet the product, in my opinion, is more exciting. And I think the girls that play NRLW, their skill set is more suited to rugby league than it is to soccer.
Yeah. Okay.
So for example, you watch the AFLW, and it's not a high quality. And look, that's a mixture of, they haven't been given as much resources, opportunity. But I just think that the girls' skill set, put it this way, girls have been playing touch for ages. Their ball playing and spins, like, some of them are better ball players than me in regards to being able to spin a ball left and right. That's obviously, I played soccer my whole life. But so girls have been playing touch for ages. And if you go and watch a women's touch game, their passes are crisp. Now, they're not as crisp as men's, but they are crisp.
Yeah.
So that's sorted. So the ball playing is at least, it's good to watch. Then the physicality, like, go and look at the UFC and watch the MMA there. Yes, it's not the same standard as the men's MMA, but it's still enjoyable to watch at the top tier, the women's MMA. You got Shevchenko, you got Nunes. Like, these are really fun fights to watch. And so you mix the physicality with, they've already been playing touch for ages. We have such an opportunity as a game with the NRLW. Matter of fact, I went and looked at that stat I was talking about last year. So last year, I think there was like a netball grand, like a final or something. 4 o'clock, prime time position.
Right.
NRLW was at like 11 o'clock in the morning or something. So shit spot, whatever. Apparently it rated over 200,000 viewers.
Jeez.
The netball game, we're talking about netball. Netball's been around for ages in women's sport.
Yep.
18,000 viewers.
Oh, so it smoked it.
Smashing it. The NRLW, some of the women's game, like one of the best women's games, got close to the men's game.
Yeah, right.
Like, it hasn't got more viewers, and they're in worse time slots.
Yeah.
Put it this way, I'm pretty sure last night the ratings for Dragons versus Tigers, and look, I understand Ash is on, Matildas are playing,
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's about 50,000 for Fox.
Right.
And like, let's say it's 70,000 for 9, or even 100,000. I'll give you 100,000 for 9. The best team last year for NRLW, the best game, it was around 250 to 300,000.
Interesting. Wow.
We have such an opportunity with NRLW. It can be one of the better women's sports in the world.
Yep.
In the world. I just think that, as I said last week, like, we need to stop comparing it to, and I know, like, I'm guilty of it too. We need to stop comparing it to the men's game and just look at it as a separate product. It's the men's game, in my opinion, it'll always be faster. It'll always be, in my opinion, better to watch. But that doesn't mean the NRLW can't be its separate product that, I'll watch it sometimes, but also women can watch it. If women can get behind NRLW, I just think that when I was watching the Matildas last night, I just thought, we have such an opportunity with NRLW. We have only been around for, 5 seasons, 6 seasons, something like that?
If that.
Let's say 5 or 6 seasons. Imagine in another 10 years how good the NRLW can be if we put a bit of resources behind it. And as I said, I'm not the guy that sits here and goes, oh, this is better than the men's. Not at all. Like, I personally don't think it ever will be. Doesn't mean it can't be a good product on its own merits. And I think if you spoke to a lot of the NRLW women's players, they get it, that men are bigger, faster, stronger. They understand it. But NRLW, there are games that are exciting and enjoyable to watch. Whereas the Matildas game, I was purely watching that because it's Australia playing. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't the best watch. But they're Australian, they're our girls, we've got to watch them and support them.
For sure.
Whereas NRLW, there have been times where I tune in and I'm like, I actually am watching this because this is exciting.
Well, I mean, I don't even have a team because there's no Rabbitohs, and I watch it.
Yeah.
NRLW. And obviously I'm a footy nerd, but I will say I got to give it a little bit I know that NRL are loggerheads with the players at the moment, and all that aside, like, a lot of things could have been done better. But I do have to give the NRL some credit for two things, which has created, like, how good this women's game is. Firstly, there's been pathways in place for these women for probably a decade now. Like, I remember at New South Wales, there was, well before the NRLW started, well before Women's Origin started as its official thing, pathways like where the girls would learn, I don't want to say learn how to play, but it was more like a...
no, learn how to play. That's what they were learning how to play.
They were learning how to play and, like, why things happened, and that kind of developed their skills and blah, blah, blah. Like, but like, guns like Ruan Sims, Alana Ferguson, like, they came through this, and then now obviously we've got the product we have.
Look, people that are scared to say what the truth is, it's condescending to the women.
Yeah.
Just be honest. I had to learn how to play. Like, it's, it's fine. And so the girls, be honest, the girls' game is behind the men's game by a substantial margin. It's never going to be the same, but it doesn't mean it can't be great.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can't be great.
And the difference between what the women's game was, say, in 2016 as to it is now, it's night and day.
Go and watch one of those older games, and it's not as good because, like, even I remember I had Charlotte Kaslick on my podcast years ago, like 6 years ago. And she had to learn how to tackle and everything when she went to rugby union from touch footy. And, like, it just, more time, it'll make it more exciting. And I just think that, as I said, watching the Matildas game, I was sitting there going, this product is nowhere near as exciting as the NRLW.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the crowd, 75,000 people, and I understand it's a World Cup, there's heaps of hype, and it's Australia playing. I get all that. There's still 75,000 people in a stadium. That's people we can win for NRLW.
Yeah.
That's the people that we should be trying to get to the NRLW. And so the Women's World Cup only comes around every 4 years or whatever, and it's not going to be in Australia for ages. So they exist. People exist that want to go out and watch it. So why not be the premier women's game in Australia?
Well, another example, the Women's Cricket World Cup final last year or the year before, they got 80,000 in Melbourne. So they're there.
They're there. They're growing. It's, as I said, I'm never going to sit here and be like condescending to the girls and be like, oh man, she should play in the men. She would kill her. It's like, no, let's show them the respect of treating them like adults.
Yeah.
But I think women's rugby league is the best women's sporting product in the country.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And so it's like, what an opportunity then. What an opportunity.
Like, I am frothing for South to come in. Like, I'll get, like, you know what I mean? One thing about the Matildas game last night that I really like, and I noticed this when I watched Women's Origin as well, is all the young girls that are in the crowd, which shows the opportunity we have, because they are coming through with these heroes of theirs.
It's a different world. Like, they are coming through, and they don't have posters of male sporting stars on their wall. It's females. And look, in yesteryear they had that as well, like, Serena Williams, and there's been plenty of, Kathy Freeman, plenty of incredible female athletes that have been around forever. But there's just more now. There's more for these young girls to be able to choose from. So when you see 75,000 people rock up for the women's game, when you see the cricket rock up, and then you go, okay, who has the best women's sporting product in the country? It's rugby league by a mile.
By far.
By a mile. Imagine how good it's going to be in 5 years. So as I said, we got a real big opportunity, and I'm not saying it because I'm sitting there going, trying to be all like, just saying it for like lip service, virtue signal. No, I genuinely was watching Matildas going, this is pretty boring. And maybe that's a mixture of the fact that obviously I like rugby league, I watch it all the time. But also I just felt that the standard wasn't as high as what I watch some of the young girls coming through right now. Like, who's the 7 from Newey Knights? Like, she's got mad footwork.
Yeah, the one Joey always talks about.
Yeah, mad footwork and mad ball playing. Like, that's... Anyway.
Is it Southwell?
Yeah. Anyway, Millie Boyle. Millie Boyle is great to watch. Like, great. She's exciting to watch. So,
I love Isabel Kelly.
Yeah.
She's and Jess Surge as well. So good.
As I said, we need to separate it and go, look, the men's product will, in my opinion, will always be more enjoyable to watch. Doesn't mean this can't be a separate, exciting product that you watch Like, for example, there are little things that you could look at and go, there's barely any wrestling in the women's game. So if you want to go back to like 90s style rugby league and watch the free-flowing, you can get that.
There's a lot more purity. It's even in the soccer. Like, there's the men's soccer. I don't like soccer, but the men's soccer, they roll around every time they get touched. But the women don't do that.
They do sometimes. But yeah, it's less. It's definitely less. So I was, as I said, I was watching, and I just think we've got a really good opportunity. The best women's sporting product in the country. It's already proving that. If netball's getting 18,000 and our league already is getting over 200,000, man, and all those young girls we saw in that stadium, if we can grab that audience, I'm telling you right now, if you want to split it in genders and be selfish, we as men, we win. The more women that get involved, we win. It's a win for everyone.
I think as well, one thing that I will die on this hill, I think the women's origin, and this is a perfect example of separating, that the men doesn't have to be the same time as women's or whatever. The women's origin should be immediately after the NRLW. So then we get to watch, because the women's origin this year was on day one of preseason, so everyone was a bit rusty. If we got to watch the whole NRLW season, watch the grand final, and then everyone's kind of got their eyes on it, they know who was killing it, and then the origin teams get picked, I reckon that'd be amazing. Yeah,
and I think because there's less teams, there won't be like 4 teams sitting around for like 2 months.
Exactly.
So you won't get like lower tier like teams that are not fit, ready for origin. Because how long's the season? It's 9 games.
I think it's 9 rounds this year, yeah.
9 rounds, and then they go what?
I think it's the same it's either 3 or 4 weeks of finals.
So 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, so you'd still have to work with the fact that a lot of the girls may not have been training for 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, that's true.
But the good thing is because the season's not as long, they're not battered and completely bruised. Like, by the time men's season ends, they are fucked. Like, there are just so many players. Origin wouldn't be as good. The reason why I like Origin in the middle of the year is because it's round 10, so everyone's peaking. Their bodies are in the best shape they can be. Everyone's match fit. And so what's perfect about the women's game at the moment, it's a 9-game season. Let's say 12 all up. What's that? It's about round 12 of a men's season. Exactly right. I think that'd be a really good way to do it for women's origin, because it's not a good showcase putting it at day one.
Nah.
The standard this year was
there
terrible.
was so many errors in that.
Game 1 was terrible.
Yeah.
Game 2 was definitely a bit better. But game 1, I mean, like it's like watching a preseason trial.
Exactly. What do you expect?
With NRL players, it's fucking terrible rugby league. There's drop balls everywhere, as in the men's game. You go watch a preseason trial, you're like, oh my God, like it's like 60% completion for both teams.
The only reason we watch it is because we've been starved of footy for 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. We're dying for it. You know what I was thinking the other day? I was sitting there, I was like, you know what would be the worst situation? Okay, you rock up and you're an actor, and you're just a young actor, just trying to make it. And you haven't found who you are as a person yet. And you go for a role, and they go, all right, we've got all the jocks over here, so you guys get this role. You know, we've got the pretty girls over here, you get that role. And they're like, and you're the piece of shit drug addict. You'd be like, hang on a sec. So I look like a piece of shit drug addict.
That's so true.
So imagine if like you're going for a role and they're like, oh yeah, you're playing the ugly person in the.
I actually have always thought that as well.
So you're like, oh, okay, I'm the ugly person then, I guess. Like a hot person is not playing the ugly person. So imagine if you kept getting typecast as like a drug addict or something.
Yeah.
You'd be like, hey, this sucks, man. This fucking sucks.
I tell you what I think, which is very similar to that. You know those actors that you always see just pop up and they're always a side character? I always think, what would that do to your confidence? All you are is a side guy.
Mate, I'm happy with a side guy. I'd be happy with a side guy. I just wouldn't be able to handle...
Oh, ugly, that'd be bad.
You're rolling in and every gig you get is like drug addict, piece of shit liar.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like you read the script and it's like, oh, this guy is the antagonist. Like he makes everything fall apart. Like genuine piece of shit. And you're like, hang on a sec. So I'm that's who I am. I'm a new actor, and you just like look at me and go, yeah, drug addict, piece of shit.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. I guess though, if you're an actor, you got to have a lot of confidence. So I don't know. Maybe they just have to own it.
Maybe that's what makes them so weird, is because they're so battered and beaten down. Like, again, imagine you're starting your career and your first 10 roles, you keep getting typecasted as liar, manipulator, used car salesman. You know what I mean? And you're going, what the hell? Yeah. Drug dealer, bad guy.
Shocking for your self-esteem, and you'd look in the mirror every night and you'd cry yourself to sleep. But not only that, you then it gets showcased to the world. Yeah.
Ugly dude. Oh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, we're when they go to their, like, I don't know, their agents or whatever, oh, yeah, we're looking for a person to play the ugly person at high school. And then your manager rings you up and go, got the role for you, mate. Got the perfect role. They need a big nose, ugly fuck with terrible charisma, bad teeth, shit voice. That's your role. Could you imagine?
That'd kill you.
And like the actors have to do that all the time.
Yeah.
And also, you know, wonder like the really, really famous actors that play all the good roles are so like messed in the head because you're constantly being told, oh, you get to play the beautiful person.
Yeah.
We need you to play the jock at high school that everyone loves, charismatic, good looking, smart, and you get that role all the time. Like, for example, there were like men that get cast as heartthrobs. Of course he loves himself.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. I wonder who it's actually more damaging for. Like, surely short term it'd hurt your feelings.
Hey, listen. I'll take heartthrob over piece of shit ugly dude any day of the week.
Of course, but imagine like give it 10 years and you're like so mentally, even though you're an ugly dude, you're so mentally strong compared to the heartthrob dude who's just got an inflated ego. Like, I wonder who long term that's more damaging for. Although I'd definitely rather be the heartthrob.
Yeah, I think everyone, like, if you kept getting ugly dude, it's like, look, it's like, there's got to be ugly people out there. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If you're ugly, like myself, you've got a big beak, you just got to cop it. You just got to cop it.
Especially guys, when there's definitely more.
Well, there's way less pressure on men to be good looking than women.
True. That's very true.
Like women, you know, here we go, dating advice.
Here we go.
You want some dating advice, boys? Here's my tip for you. And it's not everyone. This is not generalities. This is just in my experience. Men's sexuality is physical. Women's sexuality is emotional.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like ugly dudes, look, point on one, can get good looking girls as soon as you accept that as an ugly dude. So years ago, I accepted that, look, I'm not a good looking dude. I'll never be a good looking dude. So why even play into that? But can I work on trying to make a girl laugh, make her think, make her feel happy, sad, all of those things? Yeah, I can work on that shit. And so if you're an ugly dude, there's still hope. Whereas like women are constantly told, you have to be pretty, you have to be this. Like there's so much pressure for them to be good looking. They don't get to just go, oh, I'll just be ugly and funny. No one gives them that out. No one, and that's men and women. No one gives women that out of like, yeah, just be the funny girl and you'll be able to get anyone you want. Like they don't get that.
That's so true. Because even like good looking guys, like a lot of people. So okay, let me wind it back. If you're like a half like average ugly dude or whatever, but if you've got charisma and if you're funny, you can get whoever.
Look at my missus. You know what I mean? Like she's fucking she's really good looking.
Yeah.
Look at my face. Boys, there's always hope. There's fucking always hope.
I honestly reckon, and maybe I'm just saying this because maybe I'm in the same situation as you, but like.
Maybe. Jeez, give yourself a rap.
No,
Jesus Christ.
Definitely.
Jesus Christ. It's bloke's all about honesty, bro.
Yeah,
definitely in the same boat.
Definitely. Definitely in the same boat, sorry. I reckon it could. Trust me, I get people fucking telling me all the time in like the punch if I don't care. It's actually...
It's a fucking badge of honor.
I'd take it as a badge of honor, fucking oath. I reckon at the end of the day, it could... those are lasting traits. Whereas like a good looking guy, you know... If they're not funny and not charismatic, then girls get bored of them.
You know what I said to my missus when we first met? That got across like immediately, boom. I said, there are better looking men than me. There are better looking men than me.
Yep.
There are richer men than me.
Yep.
But no man will give you a better life than me.
There you go. Bang.
Boom. And it just...
That's a mic drop.
That's boom. And she laughed like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? What the hell? But... that's what you have to do if you're an ugly dude. You have to be like, all right, what can I offer someone to be a good partner?
Yeah.
It's be a fucking good partner. Provide a good life for them.
Yeah. But also be charismatic and be funny.
Yeah, I mean, that helps. I wouldn't look, Yeah, I wouldn't consider myself that fucking charismatic if I'm being honest. But yeah, whereas women, like, they don't get that benefit. Like, women,
absolutely
they
not.
don't get the benefit. They've all have so much pressure to look good, to be fit, to be healthy. Whereas men can, as we can look at us, and men can, sometimes you walk down the street and you see a bloke with a chick and you're like, what the fuck?
How the fuck?
Yeah, what is that guy, like Einstein or something? How the fuck did he get her? So anyway, I don't even know how we got there.
Oh, who knows?
I don't even know how we got there. But anyway,
Talking about actors.
there's always a chance, boys and girls.
Fucking oath.
But there's always a chance, boys, from our experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Anyway, love with the Beak. Beak's love advice. Dr. Beak.
Dr. Beak.
If I can do it, anyone can. Let's get into tips for the week.
This is a fucking good round.
It is a great fucking round.
This is going to be good.
All right. So we've got the women's game. This is brought to you by Sportsbet. Gold Coast Titan Women's, North Queensland Cowboys. Great derby. Gold Coast Women's paying $1.45. North Queensland Cowboys, $2.75. I tell you what is good if you're like a punter with the women's game.
Yeah.
Because there's like less data and like less history to kind of go off.
And new teams.
You can find some, like, for example, when the UFC first started.
Yeah.
You could find some crazy odds because there was just no video and obviously there's video of the women game, but there's not as much data to go off in regards to odds.
Exactly.
So sometimes the odds can be crazy incorrect. But anyway, Titans, $1.45. North Queensland Cowboys, $2.75. Now, I have been told that Titans are the team to beat this year. I don't know, but I've been told they are. And look at their roster. They've got definitely some Australian representatives in their roster this year as well. So they've recruited really well. North Queensland Cowboys, $2.75. I'm going to Gold Coast Titans with the women's game.
I can't remember her name. The Dragon's gun. She went up to the Titans. But yeah,
Is it Chanel?
Yeah, I got to get the list up.
No, I'll get it up because I know who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is obviously Captain Obvious, but I'm going to have to watch this round to like get a good gauge of tips for next week. But I've kind of read a few similar things about the Titans. So
they're the team to beat?
Yeah. So that I don't know if I heard the words team to beat, but I people are rating them. So I'll tip Titans in this one.
We've got to find the name now because that's going to really piss me off. They've got another girl, Jamie Chapman. She played for Australia.
Yeah.
She's a gun. She's a centre. I think it's Jamie Chapman. Let me get the premiership up.
Yeah.
Women's premiership. Draw. Okay, it's not the women's premiership. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I think it's Chantel, her name is. She's a gun, and she's with the Dragons.
She's with the Dragons.
Okay, team list. Here we go. So in the centre, Jamie Chapman played for Australia, and she will be maybe up against Jasmine Peters, who I think used to play for the Titans and is a gun.
Yeah.
Jasmine Peters is played for the Titans, used to be a gun. She's playing for the Cowboys. Now, where is Lauren Brown? Used to play for the Broncos. She's a gun. She's at the Titans now. Shaylee Bent.
That's it.
Shaylee Bent.
Yeah.
She's a gun. Really, really good edge back rower. I'm trying to look at some of the Cowboys girls.
So that wasn't who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Talia Fumano.
Oh, okay.
She's gone to the Titans.
Is she in this side? She might be in.
Yeah, she's playing 6.
Oh, she's playing 6.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, she is a gun. She is a gun. Well, I know that I'm pretty sure Shaylee played for Australia.
Yeah. Oh, she's a gun
for been a while. So I'm going to Titans now, onto the Knights. The Dragons, sweet. App crashed. That's mad.
Well, Knights, obviously, it's a shame that they lost.
Oh my God, the app keeps
Millie?
fucking crashing.
Oh yeah, the app was here. You have to go on. Here, use my phone.
That's right.
Yeah, the app was crashing yesterday as well. But the Knights have. It's funny, these two teams. The Dragons are a completely different team to last year.
They're coached by Sowie, aren't they?
Coached by Sowie, so they basically had to rebuild. So very interested to see how they go this year. The Knights, obviously incredible last year, but they've lost Millie Boyle. So this is a very interesting game. I know the Knights are pretty short. But yeah, I'm keen to see this game. Like their halves, Caitlin Moran and Jessie Southwell. That was the one you were speaking of before.
Tamika Upton's a gun.
Tamika Upton's a freak
at fullback for the Knights.
Yeah, so their key positions, they're well set. So yeah, I'm probably gonna tip the Knights.
Yasmin Clydesdale. I'm pretty sure she's good.
Yep. Even their bench, like Nita May, like she's played for the Kiwis.
Jesse Southwell at 7 that we spoke about.
Yeah, so they got a pretty strong team, Newcastle.
Isn't oh no, it's not. It's a different one.
Caitlin Johnson, she's a gun.
Yeah, I'm going to go Knights on this one.
Yeah, I'll go Knights as well. But very keen to see this new Dragons team because there's a few new teams like I think like the Raiders, whatever. But the Dragons obviously have been there before. They've made 2 grand finals, but completely new squad. So very interested to see how they go.
Sweet. Okay, now we've got Broncos v the Roosters, 7:45. Okay. Obviously, I'm picking the Broncos, but Jessie Sturgis in the centres. She's an absolute gun. Corbin Baxter at fullback.
Yep.
She's good. Millie Boyle at 8, facing her old club. So Millie Boyle went from Broncos, Knights to Roosters.
Broncos, Knights, Roosters, yeah. It's funny, Corbin Baxter and Isabel Kelly, they've been playing together for years now. Like, they played Origin together back in, like, 2015,
Chelsea
Lenarduzzi,
Lenarduzzi, she's gun. She's a gun. Look, I'm going Broncos for the win here.
Yeah, I think Roosters will win this one.
You're going Roosters?
Yeah.
Keely Davis, she used to play for the Dragons, number 9.
Yep.
She's the Australian utility, I'm pretty sure. She's a gun. I think also her and Millie Boyle, they have a podcast.
Oh,
Up the front or something?
Oh, I'll get it up. It's with the buy round.
Yeah. It's called like Up the Front or something like that. Or
yeah, sweet.
Anyway, look, I'm going to go Broncos, but this Roosters, Isabella Kelly and Jessica Sturgis is your 3 and 4. That is pretty scary. And Taryn Aiken at 6, she goes all right.
Yeah.
Okay, next one we got Eels, Tigers. Team list. Okay, looking at the team list, we've got.
I mean, in para. Lock Kennedy Cherrington, who could be the best personality in the women's game at the moment.
And also, when she's on, she's
a freak too.
She's one of the best.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I don't know too...
All right, I'm going para in this one.
Yeah, just looking at the teams, I'll probably go para as well. But Veda Walsh from the Tigers has always been good, really good.
All right, now on to the Sharkies. Jada Taylor at fullback. She's an absolute legend. Done some NRL TikToks. And Tiana Penatani, she is at 3. You got Kiana Takarangi at... so Emma Tonagato at 6. Yeah, I'm going Sharkies.
Interesting to see, because Tonagato obviously playing fullback for the Dragons, so pretty keen to see how she goes in the halves there.
There are our tips for the NRLW this week. Also, don't forget, menu log, use code TAGO for $10 off when you spend 30 or more. And we've already given out tips in regards to the games this week. So as usual, guys, we'll go and fuck ourselves.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.